Let's play this game. Enter my name, click to start. I jump, I got 1 score, 2 score, 3 score, 4, 5, 6, 7, and oh, I am failed. Let's refresh, try it again. 1. Oh, I am failed again. This is a nice game. As you can see, I failed again. This is really a simple game I created with just JavaScript, HTML CSS and JavaScript, and in this video I'm going to teach you so you can make this game and maybe you can modify it and make it much better. So let's jump back to the Visual Code and start building this project. First of all, I create a project folder. I call it my game, and I open the Visual Code, drag and drop my folder into Visual Code, and I create a file. I call it index.html, and inside this file I create a basic HTML5 structure. I give it a title, my game. I link and style for this one, the style.css, which will make it in a moment. Inside the body, I'm going to make the structure of my game. For this game, I make a wrapper. I make a div with a class of wrapper, and everything will be inside this wrapper. We have a score at the top. If you can see, we have the score. So I'm going to make the score. I make a div. I give it a class of maybe an ID of a score, and inside this I can say score is 0. Let's save it and run it with the live server so you can see everything in real time. I divide my screen into half. Okay, this is much better. After this I have my game, so I make another div. I call it game. I give it maybe an ID of game, and everything will be inside this div of game. I have two things. The first thing is the character, so I make a div with an ID of character. This is my character, and the other thing I have is that block which moves, so I make another div with the ID of block. Okay, there's nothing because they don't have anything inside it. Okay, and after our character and block, we have a button to click on play, and that also show the state of the game. If you are failed, it will show us the failed message. So I'm going to create that one. So I make a div with a class of error, and here I can say click to start. And one more thing, I also want to show the player name, so I can make another div with a class of player, and inside this I can make another div with a class of player name or p name, and let's save it. And this is the structure of our game. Now let's create this style.css and create it here. Inside my style.css, I'm going to style my game. Okay, first I want to remove the basic HTML padding, such things. So I set the border to 0, also set the padding to 0, and save. And after that, I want to select my wrapper, and I want to display everything in flex, and I want to justify the content into the center. I also want to align the items into the center. I want to change the direction, flex direction, to column. Okay, Now I want to give some style to my score, so I select my score by ID. All I want to do is to give it a font size of 75 pixel, and I want to give it a font weight of 500 to make it a little bit bigger. And I also want to remove, so I set the pointer events to none, which is we can't select it anymore. After the score, I want to give some style to my error, so I select my error, and I can set its position to absolute, so I can move it anywhere I want. I set its font size to 13 pixel, a little bit bigger. I set its color to red, and I also change the cursor to pointer. And after that, I want to give some style to my name. I select my player name by class, and I want to give it a padding top of 10 pixel and a font size to 18 pixel. Okay, now to the important part, which is my game. So I select my game by ID. I want to create a box. My game will be located inside that, so I give my box a width of 500 pixel. Also want to give it a height of 200 pixel. Let's give it a border, so you can see I give it a border of 1 pixel, solid black, and my game will be inside this box. My box is 500 pixel in width and 200 pixel in height. Those values are important. Okay, after that I want to select my character, this character. Okay, I select my character by ID, and I give it a width of 20 pixel. I also want to give it a height of 15 pixel. I give it a background color, so you can see, maybe red, and there is my character. Let's set its position to relative, so I can move it, and I put it as top, because my box, my game box is 200 pixel in height and my character is 15 pixel in height. So if I want to move it to here, I have to set it as top to 115 pixel, which is 200 minus 15 pixel is 115 pixel. Okay, and save. After that, I have my block, and my block width is 20 pixel, and my block height is also 20 pixel. It's in a square. Okay, let's give it a background color of maybe blue. I set its position to relative, and I change its location, so I put the top to 113 pixel, because I set my character 115 pixel, and now my block is 20 pixel in height, so 115 minus 20 is 113 pixel. I also want to place it here, so I set it as left to, because my box width is 500 pixels, so 500 pixel minus the width of this block is 418 pixel, and there we go. Okay, now let's give them animation. First, I'm going to give animation to my character. How you can give it animation? Actually, it is not that hard. Let's make a keyframe here. I use the keyframe. I call my animation name. For my character, it will be jump. It will jump. So in 0%, what I want, 0%, I want my character top to be on 115 pixel. This is when it's started, so it will start from here, and when it reaches to 15%, I want my character to go the top 100 pixel, and then on the 70 percentage I want it to stay on this 100 percentage, and once it reached to 100 I want it to come back. Okay, let's save. Let's apply this jump to my character. Here I see animation jump. I want the duration for this animation, maybe 500 millisecond, and it will be linear. And this is how my character jump. Let's make it infinite so it continues. You see, this is how my character jumps. Now my character have an animation. Let's make another animation for my block. So I use the keyframe, I call it block, and I want to copy the same thing, and on 0% the left will be on where it is 418 pixel, and on 100% what I want this block to come over here, so I put it as left to not 0 because my character is 20 pixels, so I put -20 so it come all over here, -20 pixel. Let's save, and I apply this block to my block, this animation to here. How you can do this? Just come to your block, put animation, your animation name, which is block, this name. I set it as duration. I want this one to last 2 seconds, to come from here to here, and I want this one to be linear also, infinite. And let's save it, and that's how it works. If I make it 1 second, it will move much faster. So 2 seconds looks really cool. If I want my character to jump a little more, I can change these values. You can play with the values to make it how you want to make it. Okay, in this case this looks good. Okay, now I want to cut this animation. I don't want the jump to be infinite, so I remove the infinite. It will happen only when you press a button. So I make another class. I cut this part of the code. I make a class, I call it animate, and inside this I put this. Whenever the class animate is added to my character, it will jump. I do the same thing for the block. So I make a class block animate, and I cut this part of the code and put it inside here. So whenever this class is added, my block will move. Okay, let's see what more we need to do. Okay, I think that's enough for the styling. Now let's come back to my index.html. Let's link my JavaScript. So I make a script tag, I call it game.js. Save, and come here, create a file called game.js. In my game.js, first I make a variable, I call it character, and I want to select my character, so I use document.getElementById, and I select my character, this character, and just like that I'm going to select my block. I use document.getElementById, and I select my block. And after the block, I need to select this score. Score text will be equal to document.getElementById, and this will be score. After that, I need to select my error document. For this, I use the query selector, and I want to select it by class. and after that I also want to select my player name, which is p name, and I use the query selector and I select it by class, which is p name. Okay, that looks good. Once we have selected everything, now it's time to make the game. I make a function, I call it jump. I want this function to be run whenever the user clicks. So I come back to my index. On the HTML, I say on click, run jump, it will run the jump function. Let's test it. I use alert, and yeah, it works. I remove this alert, and now what I want is to set the initiate value for a score and lose. So I make a variable called score, and I equal this one to 0. Another variable, this one will be lose, and this is also 0. The first thing I want to do is to add the block animation to the block. How we can do that? There we already selected the block, so I say block dot, and I want to add a class to it, so class list dot add. Which class I want to add for this one? With the class we made and the CSS, which is this block animate. I just copy its name and I put it here. Whenever I click, you see it's moving. The game mean started. Okay, and just like that, I wanna add the jump to my character. So here I already selected my character, so I add class list and add which any class, the animate. Save, and whenever I click, it jumps, but it only jumps once because we add the class, but we want to remove the class every time once the animation is finished. How you can do that? It's really simple. We use if the character dot class list, if the character class list is not equal to animate, if it is not equal to animate, we want to add the animate to it. Let's save it. Okay, if the character is not equal to animate, we add this class, but we also need to remove it. Okay, how we can remove the class? We have to remove it in a timeout. So for that we use the set timeout, and I use 500 millisecond for this one, and every 5 millisecond I want to remove the animate from my character. So I use class list dot remove and that animate. Now it remove the class name animate every 500 millisecond. And let's start the game, and as you can see, I can jump. Anytime I jump, it jumps. Okay, that's done. Now what I want to check whenever they touch each other, and that is when the character dies. So how we can do that? We make a variable, I call it check date, and this is equal to, for this we use an interval. Okay, set interval, I use an interval. What this interval does, this interval will be run every 10 milliseconds, so it will check for the dead every 10 milliseconds. How it can check? We wanna use the position of this character, this block, and this character. So when they are equal to each other or enough close, we wanna call that dead. So how to get the value, the top, left, and right value of these things? there is a nice function inside the JavaScript, which is windows.getComputeStyle. We can use that to get the position. Let's first get the position of character top. For that, I make a variable. I call it character top, and I say window dot get computed style, this function, and inside this put your character name, which you already selected, and after that what you want from this one. I want a dot get property value. I want the value of its property. Which property you want? I want this top position, so say top, and that's it. Now we have the top value inside this variable. Okay, after that we also need the value for this block. I need the left value of this block, so I make another variable. I call it block left. We use the same thing, get computed style, and for this one I use the block get property value, and I want the left property. Okay, so I say left, and after that I also need to, because this value come in pixel, I don't want that. I want the value in integer. How we can do that is really easy. I say character top is equal to, I use the parse int to make it integer, and just like that we remove the pixel, we just have the number. I do the same thing for the block parse integer and block left. Okay, once we did that, now we can check. To check we use if my block left, if my block left, this side of my block is smaller than 20 and my block left is bigger than 0 and my character top is bigger than and equal to 113, that is when I'm dead. So what does it mean? Because my block is 20 pixel, so I have to say whenever this is smaller than 20 and bigger than 0. That's a value between 0 and 20. Okay, smaller than 20 and bigger than 0. And my character top is bigger or equal to 113. So whenever my character is below the position of its jump and my block is in here, if that happens, it is when my character and block touched each other, and that's a fail. So whenever I fail, what I want to print a message on my error. So I select my error, and inside this inner HTML, what I want to print failed. Okay, failed, and that's it. How we can now, let's test this one first, see if it works. If it touch, and yeah, I failed, you see. Okay, and I also want to, if it did not touch, let's play and I jump over it, you see I'm not failed, it's working. But if they touch, it's failed. But this block is still moving. I want to remove the block animation, so I say block dot style dot animation is equal to none. That's how I remove the animation from this block. I can also hide my character, but let's play it just like this, and there we go, we are failed. Okay, if you notice, when I play, this text is still here, so I want that one to be hide. So whenever my jump function is run, I want to select my error and I want to set this style dot display style dot display equal to none. And yeah, there we go. And I want to show that one again whenever we are failed. So error dot style dot display equal to block. And if we fail, it show again. So actually our game is created, but we doesn't have any score. How we can make that score functionality? That's very easy. After this interval, I want to make another set interval, and this interval will be run every 2 seconds. And what I want inside this interval, I want to check the block left. So I copy this part of the code and I want to check if lose is equal to 0, and where this lose come, this loses the variable we created. Whenever we failed, I want to put this lose equal to 1. Okay, when we lose, this loses equal to 1. I want to put it on top. So it will check if the lose is equal to 0, and also if the block left is smaller equal to 0. What I want the score to increase, and I also want to select my score and print it inside by using inner.html. I say score and print this score here. Score. What it does, it will check if the lose is equal to 0, because if we are failed, this lose will be 1, but if not, this is 0. We also want to check the block left. If the block left is smaller or equal to 0, that means we are not failed. Let's see how it works. It's not working. Why? Let's refresh. I think there is a mistake. Let me check. Oh yeah, there we should print this score not into score but into score text, because this is this text. Okay, so let's change this score to score text and let's play again. If I jump, you see the score is increasing. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I let it to fail, and there we go, we are failed. So our game is created, but one more thing I want to add into this, and that is how we can add the name. I didn't put the player name here, so let's do that. For that, it's really easy. Before this jump function, I make a variable, I call it player name, and this is equal to, we use prompt, and inside this one I say, okay, here I say enter your name, and I want this player name to be print in here, which is this p name, which we already selected, this p name. So I select my p name and I use its inner HTML. This is equal to the player name. Now if I put my name here, as you can see, but let's make it a little bit nicer. I say player, and now if I put my name, as you can see, the player is Lee. If I change it to something else, the name is changing. That makes it a little bit cooler. And we now only can jump by clicking. I want to be able to jump by space also. How we can do that? That's really easy. I use document dot body and dot on key up. On key up, I want a function, and this function has an event of e. Inside this one, I use f to check if e dot key quote. I think it's big key quote. If this key quote is equal to 32, each of every of our keyboard characters have a key code. You can download this key code sheet from Google, and 32 is for a space. Whenever the 32 is pressed, what I want to jump. I want to run this jump function. Let's save it and see if it works. Okay, it's now working. What's the problem? Sometimes if it doesn't work, we can check for many more things also. So I want to check if e key equal to, put a space here, which means a space, or this e dot key e dot code is equal to space, or we can say or. I want to check for three things, okay? If all of them, if key is equal to blank, or if e code is equal, okay, there's two, and save. If e dot code is a space, or e key code is 32, that should run this jump function. Let's test it. And yeah, as you can see, now it works with a space. I'm not clicking, I'm pressing space, and it works just fine. And there we go. We have created a nice, simple game with just HTML, CSS, and few line code of JavaScript. I hope you guys learned something from this video. If you want me to make more such videos, let me know in the comment below. If you have any question about this project, let me know in the comment below. Have a great time. Thanks for the watching.